just a recording, and then it'll be sent out to my list and inside my new school group and stuff like that. So what's up, party people? I've got a friend of mine from the insurance industry. I met him at Funnel Hacking Live. Someone introduced me to him, and this guy's impressive. So, but it's been an absolute honor to hang out with you in Cancun, shit like that. We're both in the same info marketing world, all that stuff. Like the things we geek out on that people are like, wow, like they're flirting with the borderline of insanity, and we crossed that line a long time ago.
Yeah.
So, dude, what got you into like what are you doing in the insurance world? I know you're big into the IUL stuff like that, and you've done some amazing things with software. So
yeah. So from what got me into that, I've been in the marketing space pretty much my whole life. My dad was a commercial photographer for a long time. And so I was always around marketing. We did catalog work. We did all kinds of, images and photographs, all that kind of stuff. And then eventually, when I became an adult and had to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up, marketing kind of drew me in. I thought I was going to go be an engineer. Then I realized very quickly I'm terrible at math. So that was a short-lived dream, getting into thermodynamics and all those, some of that crazy stuff the engineers get to. It wasn't for me. So anyway, I stuck to marketing and business, and from there, picked up a couple gigs as email automation manager, kind of a thing. Looked at helping email automations, running Infusionsoft accounts, that kind of stuff. And then eventually, this was back in 2000. This would have been 2013 at that point. 2014, ClickFunnels came out, and I discovered the world of funnels and Russell Brunson. And before that, I was actually studying like Dan Kennedy and some of the other direct response, OGs. And then I found Russell Brunson, and then I found everything else after that. And so, fast forward 10 years ago, when I started building funnels, then just been continuing to do that in the insurance space. So we have a group. We train insurance professionals on IUL. We have marketing services, marketing platforms for that as well, and kind of everything in between. So, yeah.
What was the software? Because when I first met you, you and I had a conversation about the software you built. Was it for like accurate illustrations and tracking like historical data of the indexes and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we've built a proprietary IUL simulation software that we can put, not back tested, but real life market data into it. So we can actually take an IUL properly structured. I should add, because that's the key, is looking at making sure that minimum death benefit, maximum cash value, that kind of a thing, making sure that those costs are optimized throughout the whole lifetime of the policy. We've embedded that into the software in addition to simulating market data with it. So we can look at anything from like 1990 to 2024. We can look at, 2000 to 2010 and say, hey, what would an IUL do in these situations? And given those parameters, we can kind of simulate what would happen, and we can see what those things look like. It doesn't replace the illustration software, the NAIC stuff, but it does, it does give us a nice educational piece when we're showing clients, hey, here's what could have happened, here, so you understand the power of what an IUL can do.
Yeah, like I saw that the stock market took the biggest loss the other day since 1987 or something like that. Like, I didn't lose nothing in my IUL, so I'm good.
That's right. That's right. In fact, I'll double down on mine, put some more in, lock in, reset for that next year's gains. So yeah.
Yeah, and like I just want to kudos to you, man. You're one of the few people, like, it is so hard not necessarily to find like good people in the industry. Like I know plenty of good people that are like shitty agents, but like to find people who have their hearts in the right place when it comes to this, because I see, just like you do, these IULs will give you 20% returns, and like you'll never have to worry about uninterrupted compounding it. Like, and I'm like, how have they not lost their license? It baffles me. It baffles me, dude.
Yeah. Well, I have my own theories on that, but the way I would shortly summarize it is you kind of have an industry problem where it's a low barrier to entry to become an insurance agent. All you have to have is the insurance license, right?
Can you pass the test?
Dude, we have a certification program. I've never had a license, by the way. I've never been licensed, never took the exam, never nothing. we have a certification program that goes deep on IUL specifically. We had like 20, we had 20 to, was it 20 or 30? We had like 30 agents come through and take that exam. They all scored about 50 to 60%. I scored 70%.
That sounds strict.
It is. It's very it's very strict.
Oh, man.
Our certification, you have to have 100% to pass. And, so yeah.
I like that. I think the testing should be more rigorous. I think agents should have to go through a lot more ethics. Like, dude, our licensing regulations, I don't know what commissioner made this shit, but it's ridiculous. And no wonder we have the highest attrition rate out of like any other industry. Real estate agents don't even fizzle out as much as insurance agents do. It's bonkers, dude. And we sell such a beautiful thing. I'm curious if you agree with me on this, because I see so many agents, they want to get into advanced markets. They want to sell IULs, but they tackle it with the completely wrong, perception about what IULs are really for.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in like people who need an IUL, their main problem is, hey, I have extra money and I don't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think the way I've always looked at it, and this is what we teach in, some of the books that we publish and that kind of a thing. But there's like people talk about like diversifying your portfolio, right? And they go and buy, a balance of bonds and stocks and equities and, all that kind of stuff. And I think we need to diversify where our taxable income is coming from, where our tax-free income is coming from, where our passive income is coming from, and guaranteed, and like putting it into like 4 buckets is what we call it, right? You've got investments, you've got passive income, guaranteed income, and then tax-free income. And, if it's me, I'm going to put as much as I can over to that tax-free side, because shoot, I work hard for my money. I don't need to give more to Uncle Sam than I need to, right? So I'm going to do as much as I can there. And then, obviously diversify into maybe some real estate, some passive stuff, maybe some other like businesses is the other one. So investments into business. Those are kind of my 2 things that I go into, is investing in a business and then investing in
disproportionate returns. I'm just waiting for all these agencies to fizzle out. I've got some cash I'm ready to deploy. It's like, I'll take a 49% ownership if you let me buy it for this.
Yeah.
Because I know I could, like, you and I just, we can blow shit up. But what you said a while ago, that's really interesting, because very few people I know outside of myself are actually interested in that. It's probably just because I hang out in the wrong friend group in terms of that stuff. But like,
it's the right friend group, actually.
Ray Dalio, he talks about like diversification of risk allocation. It's like how much risk, and that's where a lot of his stuff comes from. So I like that. But what you said a while ago, it blows my mind. People don't know this about taxes. It's like, I got a refund. It's like, why are you bragging that you gave the United States government a tax-free loan to go send your money to Egypt to pacify their kids and like, why are you happy about that?
Yeah.
And this is one thing I do like about Grant Cardone is he made a point in did you listen to the 10X Mentor?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I thought he talks about, because this is what put me onto that after I started studying what Donald Trump and all these people are doing when I was like 19, 20 years old. Is everyone's like, he's putting you guys on game. What do you like? Do you not listen, or are you just so like Orange Man bad? These people are dumbasses.
Yeah.
But it's, hey, if I have a $50,000 tax bill, which I'm sure both you and I have expensive ones. Dude, if I have a $50,000 tax bill, why would I pay that? Why not go spend $100,000 in marketing and have it as a wash? Because that $50,000 isn't doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I mean, 95% of the tax code is how to not pay taxes, right? So if you understand that, like, there's so many strategies and ways, whether it's through real estate or just here's a really interesting example. A friend of mine came to me once and he said, hey, and he's got his mindset stuff, but he basically was like, I'm really frustrated because, I think all these business owners have all these cool perks for minimizing their taxes and doing all these cool things for expenses and this and that and the other. And I just can't do that as an employee. And I'm like, okay, so why don't you just start a business? if you really want that, why don't you just start a business? And he's like, well, but he couldn't justify it to me, but I was like, look, it's really not that hard. You go start an LLC and you operate just a little bit differently than an employee might. And all of a sudden now you got all these cool perks that you were complaining that you didn't have before, but now you have them because you just did the right paperwork and you did a couple things, and it's not all that hard.
Yeah, you went to LegalZoom. That blows my mind. Writing off all your gas mileage. I own a lawn mowing business and I pay myself to mow my own yard. It's something as simple as that. It blows my mind.
Yeah, exactly.
So, dude, if there's an agent who wants to get into more of the IUL stuff, kind of go through a more rigorous training test, like kind of get into what you're doing and have access to stuff like that, where can I send them? Because obviously I have a lot of agents.
Yeah, just hit me up on Instagram. Bud Heaton.
What's your handle on there? Is it at Bud Heaton?
Yeah, at Bud Heaton on Instagram.
So guys, there's his name. Just put in at in front of it, like the letter, the little A with the circle around it, guys. Let me talk to you like a 2-year-old for a second. So at Bud Heaton, go talk to him if you want to actually understand IULs a lot better and stop running into all this. Stop selling it to the wrong people, please, and please stop lying about 20,000% returns, because God's watching you.
I got hundreds of free videos there as well. So there's lots of value that I put on that page on that channel.
Yeah, well, I trust you, so I have no problem. I have no problem recommending that. But dude, I want to get into some of the mindset stuff, because this is what you and I like geek out on the beach in Cancun.
Yeah.
So dude, like, what got you into all of like the mindset, perception is reality? Let me change what got you into this this deep rabbit hole where you're like insane now? So
So when I was about 11 years old, my dad started taking me out on shooting trips, and we would go to tournaments, and we were shooting sporting clays, or some of you guys, think of it as like skeet shooting. Basically we were shooting clay pigeons fly through the air, right?
Yep.
And so long story short, 2011, I started competing. Fast forward to about the time I graduated high school and kind of exited that. I had been a 9-time junior All-American. Hit Team USA in the sporting clays and FITASC classifications for that game 3 or 4 years in a row. So shot tens of thousands of targets and done a whole bunch of stuff, which was a lot of fun. Was going to make a run at the national championship, and then life kind of happens sometimes. But the shooting game, competing in sporting clay shooting, shotgun shooting, that was what kind of got me into it. In fact, if I look right here, this book right here, one of my favorite books on mindset, called With Winning in Mind, from a gentleman named Lanny Basham. He was a gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist from 1976. I read this book when I was 13 years old. So 13 years old, I was reading books about how to program your subconscious, your self-image, how to rethink your thinking in terms of what's happening in the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and your self-image. Translate that to, the way I would teach it now. I think there's 4 pillars that we'd look into in the mindset. That's motivation, mindset, mechanics, and mastery. When we develop those in a balanced way, performance goes up. When we are imbalanced in any way, performance either stays stagnant or goes down. And so understanding how those things play together is really key. So for me, that competitive world laid the foundation for me in my business world to say, hey, how do I really level up in my business? How do I really level up with my team? How do I really level up in all the different aspects of things that I got going on? And literally this book, when I was 13 years old, was the foundation for that. And then obviously I got a whole bunch of other books, and there's bookshelves that you can't even see over there. So
that's absolutely fascinating. And let me illustrate the importance of mindset, because guys, this is one of the biggest like freaking mistakes I made when I first started my coaching stuff. It's like, obviously I started as an agent. I won all the trips, made hundreds of thousands of dollars my first 9 months in. And I got contracts held over my head. You're aware of how people operate in this fucking industry. And I was like, I got a 6-month non-compete. Like, I have to do something. I was like, other people like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? This is when I got into Russell's World and all this, like right in the middle of COVID. It's like, I'm going to sell coaching. Like, I'll teach other people how to do what I did. I can sell what's in my head. And I was like, got to go sell the mindset stuff. Cause like that's what helped. It was the belief shift. Guys, like first rule of business, sell what people want to buy, because very rarely do people think that mindset is their issue, even though we know it's a belief shift that's keeping them from everything they want. It's a simple perspective shift, because your current beliefs have caused your current problems. Like the belief that caused it, isn't that the Einstein quote? The same conscious that created a problem will never be the same conscious that solves it or acknowledges it. Yeah. And so I was like, you guys just need to change your mind, man. And they're like, no, I need sales training. It's like, you don't understand. And I was like, like that one thing. I was like, well, I got to meet them where they're at. And then I can like weave my metaphors, my stories, my embedded hypnotic commands to change it. And that's when I started doing that. And I'm a little jealous of you, bud, because I made my first 7 figures with high level, so I didn't get to get the click funnels. You son of a bitch. But listen, guys, if you think this mindset stuff's all airy-fairy, bud, step over to your, like, that's a $10 million plaque back there. There was a SaaSpreneur Gold Award. That's for 100 or 1,000 members?
100. We got more
100 members on his high level. Guys, there's at least $13 million facing you back there in trophies and recognition. So if you think all this mindset stuff is like shit or airy-fairy, or you think it's not for you, like you just need tactics, that is what is keeping you poor. Like the fact that me and Bud can go buy what we want without worrying about the price. Like, fucking listen to us. We are right. You are wrong. Okay. Like, let's just be real with them, because no one else, like, no one's ever just telling these people the truth, especially not in this industry.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well,
hats off to you, man. Congratulations.
I appreciate that. And same to you. Same to you. I love seeing your trophies. I mean, it's always fun to hear people's story. Like I made hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then I realized, oh, the way that I made my hundreds of thousands of dollars needs to be rethought, because I didn't realize what I got myself into. Right. I mean, how many stories have you heard like that, especially in insurance, where, you know, they're like, oh man, I didn't realize that this and this and this and yada, yada, yada. But yeah. You said something about the mindset that I think is really interesting, like especially as it applies to sales. When it comes to selling, right? If you want to be more effective with your sales, like sell them what they want, right? I thought that was I love that concept, because here's the thing.
It kept me poor. Dude, I was like, you need the minds. I was like, I know what you need. Just listen to me. And they're like, all right, my upline told me that I need to practice script.
Where's my script? I need script. Give me script. Script. Yeah.
Fucking cavemen.
I get the aspect of why we need scripts. I understand like why we kind of rely on that. Some people are more, you know, process oriented. They want the checklist, right? But if you apply that same principle to how people buy as a whole, right? Everybody has a checklist of items when it comes to anything they're purchasing. Why do we go to Amazon reviews? Why do we shop when we're shopping cars? We're looking at consumer reports. Why is it that when we're shopping for a house, we're looking at the specs of the house? Why is it that when we're looking at an IUL, we're looking at the numbers? Why are we looking at the illustrations? Why are we looking at all these things? Because we're literally, every one of us runs through a checklist of items that we have to say, hey, does this fit my bill? Is this what I want? So imagine you understand your audience so well. You understand not only the motivation behind what they do, the motivations for why they're even having a conversation with you in the first place. Imagine understanding the mindset and how they think. Are they bottom line individual? Are they more detail oriented individual? Understanding how they operate on a daily basis, what their daily activities look like, the mechanics of their every single day, and ultimately how they become masters of their own lives. What do they believe about themselves? That's the identity stuff that you're talking about. Imagine combining all of that into a marketing message that checks all of those boxes. All of a sudden, sales becomes easy because you did the work ahead of time to understand the same principle I talked about with mindset for yourself. It applies to how we do marketing as well: motivation, mindset, mechanics, and mastery. When we double down on that, all of a sudden now we're not just trying to sell something by sounding, this is going to blow your mind and this is going to be over the top and you're going to make $1 million. It's not about that, right? You position it in a way that they're like, it makes it easy for them to buy because you knocked over all of the check boxes that they've been looking for.
Yeah, it's proof over promise. It's like you don't have to yell the loud. Like yelling the loudest very rarely nets you the most sales. Like the best yeller is not the best seller, but it's proof you understand them. And I had an agent, dude. She joined my program back when it was $16,000. She fought me tooth and nail. Like, I was like, why did you give me this money if you're not going to fucking listen? 7 months later, she finally did the first exercise in the program. It's like, congratulations. Well, you got 5 months left. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm not writing down my customer's story. What does it matter what they do in their day? What does it matter what podcast they listen to? Why are you only telling me to sell to one type of person rather than everyone needs life insurance? They doesn't mean they need it from you. It's to understand their psyche. Some of them are more certainty driven. They need certainty in their lives.
Yeah.
Like they just can't see, like, oh my God, I'm so glad that someone else acknowledges this stuff. But it's like everyone needs life insurance. I would agree, but that doesn't mean it's from you.
Well,
okay.
A broad statement like that deserves broad, unimpressive results.
Have fun with your 10 sales. No, it's find pockets of people. Like find one group of people you can serve. If it's part-time pediatric nurses, only serve them. Jesus Christ, because you will be so much more compelling. Because when I switched to this, I used to think the same thing. Every insurance agent needs my coaching. Now I want some agents, I want them to do nothing but leave me the hell alone.
Yeah,
because they will give me such a big headache. The biggest drug factory in the world ain't gonna take it away.
Yep.
Like when I understood this and I switched all my marketing to that, guys, people were like, wow, how'd you, like, it's like you're in my head, Mason. How'd you know I was going to ask that type of question? Because you and 1,000 others asked it. It's like, I know, like, guys, I'm telling you what Bud is talking. It works. It works. Go use it. Listen to us, please. Dude, what was the biggest shift that mindset stuff has done for you? I'm curious, besides the 13 million back there, like, what personally has, like, because let's be real with them. When you start going down this journey, you also feel the negative 10 times more.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
What's been the biggest shift for you? Because like for me, it's the emotional range of flexibility. Like when people say I'm mad, it's like, well, I could go fucking murder somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the biggest shift for me in terms of mindset came when I started to, you know how we talk about different types of capital. There's like software, there's people, there's time, all that kind of stuff, right? There's another capital that I look at as well, and I call it the mirror. And essentially what that means is when you look in the mirror, what you see back in your reflection is a piece of capital that you oftentimes overlook. You think all of your problems are around you, but the reality is, and I was talking to Russell Brunson about this on Monday, that when you take time to invest in yourself and your business, the business does better. The business performs significantly better. And he agreed with me. He's like, every time I've leaned in on stuff on myself, my business takes off. Every time I've done that, like, and that's what happened to me as well. So as I leaned into my mindset and uncovering everything from my own personal traumas to my own inadequacies or self-image doubts about what I actually am able to accomplish and do, because I was programmed a certain way, and we all are, right? When I started to lean into that, the business revenue just started going up and up and up and up and up and up. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what's going on, right? And so when I talk about that mirror, that capital in the mirror, the mirror is not just a reflection of you, but the mirror represents what's going to happen inside of your business long term. It's a reflection, and it's oftentimes amplified. So if you don't think you're worth the money, the business is never.
Oh, the mirror will show it.
Yeah, exactly.
The mirror will show it. I actually had one of these mirror experiences the other day. So I'm not sure if you've saw this. I just made the decision the other day after talking to a couple people, but it's like, I've been battling with myself for the last 6 months on, it's like, man, should I just do webinars for other people for like fix their master, like whatever one-to-many sales vehicle they have. I feel like I understand the nuances so well. It's a beautiful art form. I love selling to the masses. And it's like, should I keep doing what I'm doing with insurance and maybe get it to 10 million a year? Or should I do something else that I think is extremely higher leverage and could take me potentially to 100 million? And it was like, but I know what I'm doing in the insurance world. I'm good at it. People, like, I'm now to the point where everyone in the industry basically knows who I am from YouTube or whatever, like my name gets thrown around, and it's like I'm finally a big fish in a small pond, and it's like, should I give up that comfort? Like, should I give up that comfort? And I was like, I got to quit playing small. So it's like I'm shutting everything down on the insurance side. The webinar idea that I discussed with you. It's like I'm just going to give that away to people.
That's your school community. Is that? Did I get that? Did I pick up that right in your school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Everything's going to school. I'm giving all that stuff away in that community, like to reinvent the industry, how people like sell, because the industry's taken some. It's catching up to our technology. Finally, is. And people are like, what do you mean I can't go door knock? Like all the old folks are getting weeded out. You got 19-year-olds making more money than they've even know what to do with. And so they're degenerate gamblers or whatever. So I'm giving all that stuff away. And it's like, now I'm transitioning to something where I'm new again. It's like, this is like Mason, go back to climb back up to where you were, man. Like, is now you're going down. Now, like, it's like, that midlife identity crisis, even though I'm only 26. It's like it's fun, but it's that experience. Like, it's time to lean into what I'm best at, and that's selling to the masses.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because that was my conversation with myself yesterday.
That's good. Yeah, and you have to have them, right? Like, if you don't have them, that's you're gonna get stuck in terms of like, oh man, like we tend to like get ourselves into a groove of thinking that everything's great, and it's not until we get slapped in the face, kicked in the pants, that we're like, oh, I got to rethink my thinking here, right? And so that's why I love the mirror exercise, is to literally take a mirror and just literally look at the mirror and ask yourself, like, what do I believe about me, right? And whatever comes up in your head in the very, very beginning, don't fight that. That's the answer.
Yeah, because what I was sitting there battling with is like, well, I'm not a quitter. I'm not a giver upper. I'm loyal. And I was like, well, hang on, Mason. What are you being loyal to? And I was like, the agents, the industry, my customers, which I think that's beautiful. I love my customers, but it's like, I have to be loyal to myself right now, starting something new. And it's not me giving away or quitting. It's just like, I'm walking away from a really sexy girl to pick up an even sexier. Like, I'm leaving the Lambo for a private jet now. It's like you understand that stuff, and they're hard decisions, man.
Yeah,
they're hard decisions.
Yeah,
because I've never experienced this before. I'm walking away from my first business to do something I have no clue will even work or not, and that's the risk we take. You didn't know your software stuff was going to work. You have no guarantee, and that's the price we pay.
Yep.
For the ambition we have. So
yeah, exactly.
It's cool that I have people like you in my life, man. So just know that I'm grateful for you. Even though we've only hung out a couple times in person, I like who you are as a person, and I respect you.
There's a massive amount of obviously respect, but also not to get supernatural here, but frequency, right? Like, when people operate on the same frequencies, things just sound better. They work together better and all that kind of stuff.
So, I think it's called a morphogenetic field. It's what bees tap into. Have you saw the exercise they did? Like, bees were traveling to certain hives and they all knew like that hive mind frequency. So that's, I wholeheartedly believe in that, or the concept of a mastermind. We're all thinking about the same problem.
Oh yeah.
So
Dude, sit in a room, just sit in any room, in a public room, and just be observant of the people walking in and out of the room. And you can generally get a feeling of that person brightened the room when they came in. That's an interesting person. I might talk to that person. That person left. Wow. That room just got brighter when they left.
And then that's like when my sister walks out of the room at Christmas, and we're like, thank God.
Yeah.
I'm all jokes aside, dude. I'm curious. What's been one of the biggest misconceptions that you had that was like, answer was right in front of me, like in terms of like the mindset world? Like, what was one of the biggest misconceptions you had? You were like, I know this is true, and you're like, it turned out not to be.
Yeah. Okay. So when I joined Russell's Inner Circle, when I joined into his Category Kings Mastermind, And that's obviously one of his upper tier ones.
How much is that? Because I want people to realize how much people like you and I spend on coaching.
150K. Yeah, $150,000. So to literally come to like 4 meetings, you know.
Yeah.
But here's the thing for me, that was like one of the more transformative moments in my life, because I had gone from kind of like I've been using ClickFunnels since they had $37 accounts, you know, way back in 2014.
I wish that was still the case.
I know they kicked me off that plan in like 2015. I was like, come on. Anyway, it was fine. We still have we love ClickFunnels, but anyway, so when I joined, I had never been really in the inner circle program or anything like that with them. I knew who everybody in the room was though, because I had sat there and studied what they did in marketing for the last 10 years of my life. Right. So in 8 years or whatever time frame it was. Right. So I had studied, you know, James P. Friel. I had studied Russell. I had studied like Steve Larson. I'd studied all these guys that were in this mastermind together. You know, like I watched what they did, and I went through their funnels and I observed them and I saw how big they were. And I was like, wow, these guys are really cool. And then I get into the same room with them, and all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, I don't know that I'm like supposed to be here, because like they're them and I'm me. And I was like, what is happening? And I had a conversation with Yada Golden. If you don't know who she is, she's an amazing email copywriter. Love Yada.
I'm on her list. Because you got to learn from the best.
Oh yeah. So and I had known, what's that?
Him and Ben Settle.
Yeah. So I had known Yada for years, just from afar. She had no idea who I was until I came into the mastermind. And I was telling her, I was like, dude, look, it's like so weird, because I'm like, you know, like all of a sudden I'm in the room with you guys and I don't know like how to like think about it. And she was like, dude, look, I was in the room with Alex Hermosi and I was in the room with all these other guys, you know, Kaylin Poland, like they're all my friends now. Right. And the thing that I spent so much time worrying about was that I wasn't qualified to be in the room for whatever reason that I came up with in my head. And she was like, dude, you're in the room. You paid to be here. You earned your spot in this room. So you better own it. And that was my mirror moment with Yada. That I was like, all right, okay. And I shed a lot of those false beliefs of my own and moved and stepped into a different identity of who I was and what I was capable of doing and the talents that I had acquired over the last, you know, over my career.
Dude, that is so beautiful. But if people realize the underlying principles of what we're actually like selling them on, $150,000 lesson right there.
Yeah.
That you don't have to pay to learn.
Exactly. Right.
Step into who you are. It's
You're
like,
welcome, everybody.
People fanboy over these people. Like, I get it. They are cool. They've done amazing things. But like, who says you can't? Who says you can't be one of those people? Like, that's why I'm not going to get all excited. Like, oh my God, Russell, bro. Like, when I see people do that, like, I understand it. And there's part of that 7-year-old boy in me that wants to do it. But I'm like, he's a human. I'm a human. And I'm just going to go treat him as such.
The more famous people I meet, the more I realize that they're just the same as you as me.
They just want to be treated normal.
Yeah. Yep. I just want to have a conversation with you.
So that's so funny. What a great lesson for you guys watching this. $150,000 value YouTube video right here. So you're welcome. Hit the subscribe. All right. And go to @BudHeaton on Instagram and hit him up. So, dude, that is so good right there. I love that story. What's been the biggest thing you've learned from Russell? I'm curious.
It's going to sound stupid, but last year when I was, we were at Pirates Cove with him, and we were looking at one of our offers, and, you know, I was showing him what we were doing and this, that, and the other. I showed him the messaging a little bit, and he literally looked at me. He was like, bro, that's Expert Secrets 101. And like, that's kind of he didn't say it like to that extent, but it was kind of like, dude, that's Expert Secrets 101. Like, come on. And like, it was just like, it was the most fundamental thing, but it was like, literally just go back to the basics is kind of what he was saying. Right. He's like, dude, just go to Expert Secrets, look at this piece right here. And I was like, oh, but it was one of those things where like, I'd read the book how many dozens of times, you know what I mean? Like, I've read that book so many times, but it was something that I totally overlooked. And so I think one of the things that we often do in business is we get into the weeds of what we're trying to do. And we oftentimes don't see the forest through the trees, which is also why having that $150,000 mastermind in my back pocket was like so important, because it gave me perspective from people that were in the weeds, like also like, but then they could look at my forest and be like, dude, bud, you need to do this, look over there. Like, and in having an outsider looking in gives so much perspective. So the biggest thing I learned from Russell is like, always go back to basics. Like when you're trying to figure something out, like go back to the basics and just look at it again and just keep it simple, and then launch from there. And then you can iterate and make things more complicated, and then you can iterate and make things more advanced. It's like you're talking about earlier. It's like serving one specific audience at a time, right? Just because you're serving that one audience right now doesn't mean you can't serve other audiences in the future. But like, start with the one you're working on right now. Master that. Go to the fundamentals. Get that thing dialed in. And then once it's dialed in, boom, now you build your next business or your next offer or your next program or whatever. And you just do that and stack it, stack it, stack it. Look at what Russell's done. Russell literally has brought in so many different audiences because he's built out different mechanisms for marketing in different markets.
Well, he mastered it, as you said, which means like he's gotten so good at something, he doesn't even have to think about it anymore. He doesn't have to think about his perfect webinar script.
No, he just does it. He's doing an event this week right now.
Rolling Online Challenge.
Or no, I guess it's next week. He was saying on Monday, he's like, dude, I got 14 presentations next week that I haven't even done yet. Right. But he's just going to go knock it out of the park because it's so ingrained in his mind.
Yeah. I've done, I think over the last year, I've done about 150 of them.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to do other people's stuff and they're converting. Like I love doing those so much. They're so fun.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you also followed Dan Kennedy. I'm curious, what was one of the biggest takeaways you had from him in terms of like how he thought about the world? Like in terms of Dan Kennedy's mindset, what did you kind of extrapolate from him?
Dan's just, I mean, he's the no BS guy, right? But I think one of the things that really helps me understand, the basic principle of marketing is that marketing isn't about yelling, as you said, right? It's not about being the loudest. It's about having the right message for the right person at the right time, right? If you know the saying from Dan, right? How to go from annoying pest to welcome guest. Yeah. And if you know that story, then, that becomes a foundation for everything else you do in marketing. And like, how do you put together a marketing message that takes you from annoying pest to welcome guest? What is that? What's the criteria of that? Like, what do you have to put in there? And that's what, obviously Dan pieces together for you inside of his stuff. But, that underlying principle right there is the number one, foundation that you can build into your marketing to make you successful.
It's kind of like what Jesus did. If you look at what, like, he was a master salesperson. Like, he didn't go out there and start just, hey guys, today we're going to learn this parable or principle. No, he fed them first. And when I tell that story to my age, like, what does that matter? It's like, because if he didn't feed them first, they would not be able to hear his message over the hunger of their own stomachs. Mm-hmm. It's like you have to deliver them a message that they are actually hungry. I love that you bring that up. It's
I had
stories and all that. They're so compelling, man.
Here's another one. So I had a friend of mine. She's very introverted, and she's not a gregarious salesperson type of a person, right? She's very, inward reflective and she can be social, but it's not her strength, right? And sales is not her thing. Like, she's kind of like, just wants everybody to be happy. Like, she's just an empath at the end of the day, right? And she was saying that she was doing a sales presentation and the objection came up. She's like, well, listen, I just believe in divine providence. And, I just don't think right now is the right time for me. And I said, look, dude, that's like the perfect segue for an empath, because you can totally lean into that and say, hey, you know what? I'm right there with you. I think you're exactly right. I think there is divine providence. I think there is things that guide us to the right things. Don't you think that's maybe why we're talking right now? don't you think that we're having this conversation for that reason? So you turn that objection into a close.
Into the reason.
Into the reason. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, you totally, like, that empath in you could totally just lean into that just a little bit further and go to where your audience is so that you can take them to where they want to go.
It's the reframe. I wish people would realize that, like, the industry we're in, everyone thinks their little one-liners that they got on their script about, like, let me be as disagreeable as possible. Like, no, whatever they say, lean into it. Lean into, like, I want to be agreeable and maintain rapport no matter what. It's like, well, this costs too much. You are absolutely right for the wrong person. And they're like, well, am I the wrong person? They start, I just want to get in their head no matter what. Just lean into it, guys. Listen to Bud. Like, this is so valuable. Like, I'm glad someone else geeks out on this shit like I do, because, like, this gives me brain gasms, or whatever you want to call them.
All of our insurance agents listening in, though, are probably like, dude, where's the damn checklist?
What do I say if they say it's too, like, they need to talk to their wife? Like, you're not getting it. It's going over your head, and you won't be in this industry in 6 months from now because you can't fucking get out of your own way. Yeah. You're biting your own hands that are feeding you. It's nuts, man. What does your family think about all this stuff? Like, what are the conversations you have with your children about the mindset, the mantra, the perspective, and the beliefs?
That's a good question. My kids are obviously young, so my 3-year-olds don't quite get it. The best thing that I can do with them, though, is just lead by example, right? So if I get angry or upset, I show them how to come out of that. And if they get angry or upset, I walk them through and guide them through how to get out of that, right? Like, that's like, at their level, like, that's the basics of
behavior.
Yeah, the behavior side of things, right? 3-year-olds, 3 to 6-year-olds, they're kind of in that I can't remember what the phase is called, but it's like they're understanding the boundaries and limitations of what life is, and jump off of this, but don't jump off of that. Yell about this, but don't yell about that. Get upset about this, but don't get upset about that. Like, they're learning where their world extends to and what those limits are. And then it obviously expands from there. But my 6-year-old, on the other hand, though, it's a little bit of a different conversation, because she's now able to articulate things, and she can hear things. When mom and dad are talking about something, she's like, "Hey, what is that?" She'll ask sometimes questions like, "What are you talking about there?" And it's like, look, that's like business stuff. Like, don't worry about it. Like, there's certain things that you're just like, hey, you have to kind of dummy it down for her. But it's fun. I actually got her into a funnel builder, and she's been building a little funnel. So she'll literally, like, see if I can find one here. She'll literally, like, draw me a picture like this. I actually have it right here on my desk. It's hard to see.
Yeah.
Anyway, this one's probably easy to see here. So she'll, like, draw me a picture like that.
Yeah, I like that. Is that a rainbow?
It's a rainbow and a sun and flowers and clouds and all that stuff. And then we'll go onto Canva, and we'll use, like, we'll use the Canva editor to, like, let her build stuff out, and I'll show her where to click and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll go put it on a funnel. And she's, like, already seeing how that kind of, Dad, we need to work on our website, so she's learning some of those things, which is fun. But, like, coming back to the mindset side of it, I think the biggest thing that I'm teaching her right now is probably that she's entering first grade, is that, there's going to be kids that have different values, and there's kids that have different belief systems than you. And so, we need you to understand, here's what our family's values are. And it's okay that people are different, and letting her kind of navigate that a little bit and make it feel safe to have those conversations around, hey, this person did this, but why can't I do that? Or, that kind of a thing. So I think for us, that's kind of like setting boundaries in a different way, but, like, that's kind of where we're at with her right now.
I respect the hell out of that, your cadence of parenting, because, dude, like, when you look at the school systems, that right there, no one ever addresses the fact that, hey, other kids are going to say different and mean things, and the world's not going to be a beautiful place all the time. Yeah. But it's like, understand, no matter what your teacher tells you, you listen to mom and dad. Yeah. We have your best interest at heart. It's like, guys out there, understand the world's changing rapidly. And if you do not make enough money to afford the luxuries of parenting your kids like that, like do something about it now, because if not, your kids will be bred into slaves and factory workers and washing cars for the rest of their damn lives and miserable, unhappy, on questioning their. I know you're probably not happy with the school system, even though like this is the first year going into it. Like the fact that you're addressing that before the teacher has a chance to impose her will on a curious mind, so to speak. I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to.
Because the teachers, granted, they're not going in there thinking, I'm going to indoctrinate these children. What they're thinking is like, I paid $200,000 for this degree. I'm right. The parents are wrong. What do they know? I'm going to send your kids home with homework to show them. It's a lot of them are bitter, and I don't blame them. They're doing the best with what life has given them. But that doesn't mean it's fair, like advantageous to the children. I'm going to make enough money to where my future family does not have to engage with that. I can't stand seeing what's going on in the world, dude. It breaks my heart.
Well, we actually presented our girl with a choice. We let her choose between homeschool and public school, and because we did kindergarten from home. But she wanted to go do the social thing. So she wants the social
friends, hang out, draw, nap time. Why don't we get nap time?
I know, right? Well, as business owners, and we do it right, we can. But a lot of times we don't set things up the right way from the start. So
no, 15-minute nap turns into Netflix and chill, or 3 hours on Vikings, like House of the Dragons final episode. Well, oh man, what a letdown. Anyways, that's interesting. I don't really hear that anywhere else in the marketing world, is what people addressing, like, hey, these are our family values. We ascribe to this. When things get hard, here's how we act. Like it's setting those, you said the developmental role or what stage of life. They're just learning how to respond to stimulus at that age. And so they're ascribing all these meanings to things and building their brain like their behavioral pathways.
If you want to understand a deeper version of that, look up Dr. Bruce Lipton. The short nutshell version of what he explains is that we are all 80 to 85. I think he said 80, 85, if I'm remembering correctly. Don't quote me on that, but it's like somewhere between 80, 85, 70, 75, something like that. 80, let's call it 80%. 80% of our programming that we have for the rest of our lives happens by the time we're 7 years old.
Yep. You learn what is true, what is not. You learn your concrete definitions at that development, because your brain doesn't have a critical faculty like that. That's what I geek out on, like the mindset in the NLP world, like how our brain works. And by the time you're 14, you're starting to find your idols and who you're starting to think for yourself, and you start like, well, I thought so-and-so was real, just in case any kids are like, what do you mean, Mom? Like, girls don't have cooties. Like, what? But you told me this, and they start learning things for themselves. It's such a precious time. Yeah, that development stuff.
I'll tell you that here's the hardest part about parenting. Okay, and I'll caveat it with, if you're doing parenting correctly, it's really hard to understand this, because I don't say this to poke at anybody, because I understand what it's like to be not in this camp. But the hardest part about parenting is watching your kids develop and grow. Like literally watching my 3-year-olds learn how to go swing on the swing set. And now they don't ask. I mean, they'll ask me sometimes, but like now they'll just go jump on the swing and they'll start swinging. Right. Whereas before it was, Daddy, come push me on the swing. And now I'm not needed. You see the dichotomy there?
Yeah.
And it's so hard to see that, because you have to kind of let go and just let them go be and explore and do their thing. But you're like holding on to that precious moment so tight, and it squeezes away from you. And you're just like, ah. And as a parent, sometimes you want that. And you're like, finally, I can take a flipping break. Right. But sometimes, if you're really trying to be intentional, you try to hold on to that moment as long as you can.
Yeah. Somewhere I've read that by the time your kids are 16, you've spent 90-something% of the time you'll ever spend with them. And I was like, I just want to be present. So I'm going to become as strong, charismatic, and make as much money as I possibly can. That way, like I can be present for my children, not to be a friend, but to be a father first and foremost.
Yeah.
So I see that. It's like, dude, over here, I was at Walmart the other day, and this kid says, "Mommy, I want this toy." She goes, "Not today, sweetheart," and he smacked her.
Ooh.
I was like, still like 6 or 7 years old, dude. I'm like, I'm going to somewhere else. Like I'm getting out of here.
Well, here's the deal, dude. Here's the deal. I'm not looking at the kid. I'm looking at the dad.
Parent.
I'm looking at the dad because that kid learned it from somewhere. Now, it might be movies, it might be some, I don't know the context, obviously, but like kids learn pretty well from who they're around. And a 6-year-old isn't around in anybody, you know, generally speaking, they're around maybe, you know, cousins and neighbors, but like dads are pretty
there's
much
no
like
dads out there anymore. Dude, the dating world, it's the genders hate each other because of politics and all this shit. It's stupid. Any dude who hates women is dumb. Any woman who hates men is dumb. We need each other. We are counterparts.
Yeah.
It's like, I would rather hang out with a bear. By all means, go do it, dumbass. That way you don't reproduce. But for the rest of you, I know that you're just bitter because of one bad heart. Like they generalize, delete, distort this whole like you and I know that stuff. But dude, I feel like we are just scratching the damn surface on how deep this stuff can go.
Oh, we've gone a mile wide on a bunch of different topics.
But it's so cool. I feel like the biggest part of this, guys, is what Bud said earlier, just that $150,000 lesson, just stepping into who you are and being okay. Like, hey, for every one person you please, you're probably going to piss someone else off, and just accept the fact that you are you and you ain't changing.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't going nowhere. So you might as well get used to it. And the pimple on your cheek, like whatever it is that you're so scared of other people seeing, I bring the skeletons out of the closet, let the world see it. I'm a weird dude. I lean into it. I'm proud that I make mistakes because it makes me human.
Yeah.
But dude, if you could leave them one thing they can challenge themselves on for the next day, the next week, what would you tell them that?
This is an exercise from one of my mentors, Doug Andrew. If you don't know who that is,
Yep.
You should, in the insurance space.
Yep.
One of the exercises that we do, we have an event that we call the Clarity Retreat, and during that event, one of the exercises that we do is called the greatest significance in the least amount of time. So what you do is you grab yourself a piece of paper. Okay. Literally, we got a couple minutes. Let's do the exercise here. Grab yourself a piece of paper, and on that piece of paper, you're going to set a 3-minute timer. Well, not on the paper, but you're going to set a 3-minute timer. You're going to grab yourself a pen, and you are going to write a final love note to whoever it is that's your most significant person, because you're not going to come back ever again. And you have 3 minutes to write it. What do you say? Okay. I'm going to give Mason about a minute just for the sake of time for the recording here.
All right.
Mason,
people going to be mad with who I chose.
Okay. So you take your time. Obviously, about 3 minutes is usually what we'll do during that exercise. But in this context, we'll go a little bit shorter, with Mason here. Let me know when you're done with your next little thought there, Mason.
All right.
Okay. Now, you don't have to share this. It's totally up to you if you want to share it. But the question I have, go ahead as you read that statement and read what you put there. The question I have for you is, are you living in the capacity that you declared in that note?
Absolutely. I'll share what I wrote. I'm going to leave out their name just because people are weird out in the world.
That's perfect.
So, dear blank, I love you. You are the greatest accomplishment I have in finding a friend. Tell my dogs I love them.
There you go.
And so this is my best friend in the world. I tell, like, if someone needs to come bury a body, I know who I'm calling. So
There you go.
it,
There you go.
yeah, I fully live in that capacity.
There you
It's
go.
one of my greatest accomplishments.
Yep.
Dude, I love that exercise.
It makes you think, right? And if you have more time to write,
It
obviously.
does. Now, here's the thing. Why did I not choose a family member? Why did I not?
I don't know. That's up to you. That's the first person.
What do you mean you didn't choose your mom? Like, guys, go do this exercise like right now. As soon as you finish this, like do it.
It's a fun one because it makes you really rethink your thinking in terms of how you're living and what you're doing. And the more grounded, because here's the thing. Final thought. There is no past, there is no future, there is only present. There is only now, right? Because in the past, what are we doing? We're recreating something that we once had here. In the future, we're creating something that doesn't exist yet, which gives us ultimate power if we really lean into that. But in order to do that, we have to be present now, creating now, because we create in all three scenarios, right?
Yep.
But what we create now is what determines what's going to happen to us in the future. And so the more grounded we can be with where we are right now, understanding that, you got a 6-year-old that's going into first grade, and are you having those intentional conversations or not? The fact that you have a business that's working or maybe not working, but, the failures that you're experiencing aren't necessarily failures. They're what you're getting because of who you are and the decisions that you're making, right? The external output of what your business does is an external representation of who you are internally. And so the more you lean into yourself, lean into the mirror, all of a sudden you can transition the way you live your life, the way you think, the way you operate, and the way you find success.
I really like that exercise. And the only thing that makes me think of is like when you can't change the past. It's like, hey, you can change your perception of it, which perception is reality. So by default, you can change the past. Yep. Oh, so someone's model of the world is like, what do you mean? I would even go so far to say your worst day that's ever happened to you is the best day that's ever happened for you. You and I could go deep on that. But, dude, yeah. I really appreciate you coming on here. This has been fun, man.
I appreciate you having me, bro.
Yeah, you're someone I think who is worth paying attention to in the insurance world and in the marketing stuff. So I hope to hang out with you more in person sometime in the near future, man. So I do thank God for meeting you and putting you in my path. So
thank you. Likewise.
It's definitely reciprocated. I'm going to go do some consolidation on thoughts on why I chose to write a letter to this individual, because that did stop me in my tracks. So thanks for giving me something to think about, man. That's interesting. I got to go follow at Bud Heaton on Instagram. It's with the circle around it. BUDHEATON. Do you have a website if they want to go anywhere go down into your deep dark rabbit holes of funnels?
Just go to Instagram. It's all good. It's all good.
Okay, right, go click on his links and have fun. So I love going through funnels. Yeah, guys, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and go do the exercise. Let me and Bud know in the comments what you're most thankful for. And if you want to share your letter, by all means, send it to Bud. I don't know. Send it to the person you wrote it to, or whatever you got to do. Light it on fire. It doesn't matter to me. So love you all. Keep being awesome. I will see you guys on the next one.
Thank you, everybody.